All right, full swing submission here. We are going to go through your swing in both the down the line and face on view to help work on a couple things. Specifically, what you mentioned in the survey is right now you're 15 handicap and you're trying to get more shallow on your swing path and work on general contact and ball striking. So when you do get more shallow or inside the path, what does tend to happen is it does tend to make contact a little bit more difficult, because the more inside the club comes in from your downswing, the more of a sweeping or shallow angle of attack you might have coming down. So as we play through, you do okay on the path, getting a little bit laid off up at the top of the swing, but really not in too bad of a position. I think that we're going to talk a little bit more about your wrist up at the top of the swing as it pertains to the club face throughout your entire golf swing. But as you make your transition move up here at the top, you actually do a pretty decent job of getting the club to travel back down on or even slightly inside the plane. You do begin to get on your toes a little bit on that right toe rather than get much of a push or drive coming through. But if we just play through that pre-impact position again, club does look like it's coming in from the inside, but that face angle does look like it's open, which may cause you to do some scooping or some flipping of the wrists on the way through, probably making your direction rather inconsistent. But to knock off one thing, I don't think you need to get way more shallow on your path. I think it's more of a face control issue. But I'll come back to that video in a second. I do want to go back to your face on just to see how that's looking here first. Clear us out, play it through one time, and then I've already got someone queued up to compare against here. So just looking and browsing through the face on, you make a pretty good turn. Again, cupped wrist up at the top. Not a whole ton of sway, but I'll dive into that here again in a minute. As you come down, a lot of turn. Not a lot of weight shift coming over to the front side, so I think we can do, or at least point out, a couple things that you could work on in this swing here. So, first, to begin, I'm going to load up our face-on comparison, and that is recent President's Cup victor, Max Homa. So let's get the right one up here on the right side. There we go. And I'm going to do one simple line on the lead hip. Just a nice line to measure or track where your body moves through the swing. So as we make our first move back, you actually begin to put some weight into that front hip. And I'm all about that move for the irons at least, because that should help increase your angle of attack down and make you a better ball striker. But as we get toward the top, let's play it back here again, because you're at your P2 takeaway position. You've moved your hips an inch or so in front of where they started. But as you continue rotating up to the top of the swing, what was forward with your weight shift is now swinging back right to where you started. Now, if you really think about it, no harm, no foul. If we went from P1 to P4 here at the top and you were in this position, wouldn't have looked like you moved much at all. But your weight was last moving back, which then has to begin to move forward to initiate your downswing. So what you do is you maybe slide a little bit, but that looks much more like a rotational move, which can prevent the club path from shallowing and does not give you, like I said, that steep angle of attack down at the ball. We're going to hold your impact position where it is. You ultimately do get an inch or two, probably 2 inches out in front of where you started, so acceptable. We got Max over here, and let's see how he moves his hips through the swing. Pivot move really does not get any weight shifted forward. Does lean into that back leg just a little bit, maybe a half inch of sway off the ball, but a rather aggressive whole lower body slide or drive by pushing that back foot and back knee straight towards the target. His hips right now are already facing the ball, not begun to open up too much. Right about here, after he's done that shifting, he will begin to open up those hips and let the club lag behind and strike the ball with nice forward shaft lean at that impact position. Again, like I said, you're not in an awful spot here, but look at how much more active Max's lower body is from the trail knee drive specifically. Your trail knee ends up working more towards the golf ball, which is more down and in. Let me zoom back in here for a second. And your knee will end up going a little bit more like it's going down this way when Max is going more that way at that point. But that's all I would get after for your face-on view, is to try to limit how much you sway off toward the top. Again, first move forward, second move back, third move slightly forward again. Try to just keep things moving a little bit more leftward toward target. So now let's dive back. I think we'll get out of this. Go back to your down the line view to look again at that path. And I think we can queue up Max here again from the down the line. There we are. So similar lines, just doing a straight up comparison between the two swings here. And first thing you notice, posture. Back is much straighter, allowing Max to make a big shoulder and body rotation up to the top. We viewed your first move, and we're just going to go point by point here. As you take it back to P2, club's in a good spot. Both clubs and hand and face look okay here. Most tour pros favor the more upright takeaway, face in a similar position, maybe allowing it to open up just a bit more, but the hands will get much higher and deeper to the top with a good solid body rotation. At your top of the backswing, we pointed out the left wrist beforehand. What you do want to try to do is don't worry about raising your hands much higher. If you're trying to get more shallow, you're okay with that arm sort of in a flatter position as it is right now. But look at the left wrist between you and Max. Max's left wrist is very straight, which will keep the club face square. You do have a bit of an angle here, and as much as that angle is open or cupped, that's how much open your club face will be on the way back down. So transitioning through one more time to the downswing, stopping right before your impact position between you and Max. Let's see what we get. You're, like I said before, not in a bad spot, face slightly open. He will be much more on plane or even to the high side of the plane to hit a baby little cut. If he's high side of the plane, he can have that face slightly open to, again, cut across it and produce that little fade. But if you're inside and the face is open, that's going to look like this, a push. With that inside path, you get that face to come around a little bit more, and you should start seeing tighter draws more consistently.